This is my video for the Arizona State Pistol Caliber Carbine Championship that I shot all in one day on September 24th, 2021. I competed in iron sight division using this KP15 in 9mm that I built specifically for this event. It has a dedicated Han Precision magazine block for using Colt magazines. I used Brownell's 32-round magazines for the duration of the match. They could only be loaded to 30 rounds for iron sight division. I'm also using a Brownell's bolt group, a Brownell's slick side A1 upper, and M&A Parts mid-length barrel with A2 flash hider, and Magpul Mo handguards. The KP15 lower has ambidextrous controls and an SLT2 trigger. The buffer system I'm using is a 5.5 ounce 9mm buffer with 308 spring. I zeroed at 50 yards using 124 grain S&B ammo, and I used this ammo for the duration of the match. I did not do any specific training for this event. I literally zeroed the gun and showed up to the match to use it. I'm going to address something up front because I'm seeing a greater and greater tendency for my audience to view me as some sort of superhuman shooting machine. I am not. What I do have is 20 years of experience and certain things that I'm better at than a lot of other people. Those things being linear stages that you see in the two-gun action challenge matches that include intermediate range marksmanship out to 300 or 400 yards and shooting moving targets, including spinners and Texas Stars. Action shooting sports can emphasize different skills depending upon the stages presented. I'm not going to say whether those skills emphasized are right or wrong. Different flavors of matches appeal to different people. The type of stages presented at this match largely emphasized efficiency over everything else. The marksmanship challenges presented weren't incredibly hard for the most part, but doing a stage in the most efficient way possible to have the fastest time is how you gained the most match points at this event. Match points work by taking the fastest shooter's time within your division and dividing it by your time to give you a percentage. Those percentages are then turned into match points. So for example, if the fastest shooter's time in your division was 20 seconds and you did it in 30 seconds, 20 divided by 30 would give you roughly 66% or 66 match points. What this does is make short stages worth the same amount as longer stages, as opposed to a total time format where longer stages are worth more. So every missed step, every extra shot on match point scoring tends to be worth a bigger percentage of your score. So efficiency is king at this type of match, and every little thing you do that adds to your time costs you much more than it would at a total time match where things tend to balance out more with short stages and longer stages. So as you watch this video, I want you to keep in mind that my primary motivation for posting these match videos since I first started in 2006 has always been to simply make the shooting sports more accessible to people and allow them to learn what goes into participating in one and improve their performance through watching my stages, both the things I do right and the things I do wrong. My secondary motivation is to demonstrate that the products that we make and sell function and work well under challenging and unique circumstances. There's no better venue to demonstrate this than in the match environment, in public, on the clock. If you're going to comment to me that you wish you saw so-and-so's run on a particular stage, or so-and-so did better than me on a particular stage, please take those comments elsewhere, to those people's respective channels. What you'll find is that most competitors don't bother recording these events. The most serious competitors can't spare the mental energy away from the actual competition to produce media content while attending. Another thing I will note is that when I see people talking about competitors and results with the way they would discuss professional sports and rivalries between teams, I find it inherently distasteful. Almost no one conducts themselves that way at these events, and it's all about doing your own personal best relative to the event that you're at. I don't think you'll find another sport where competitors help each other as much as they do in the action shooting sports. Be that with planning how to best shoot a stage and what the best engagement sequence is, or repairing a broken gun between stages and helping a competitor get back into the game. With all this said, here is my 2021 Arizona State Pistol Caliber Carbine Championship match. I'm going to be showing the stage diagrams before each stage because there's a lot going on most of these stages, with around 40 to 50 rounds required if you hit everything on the first shot. On this stage, there are a total of 22 steel targets to engage from inside the vehicle. Once exiting the vehicle, there are 7 paper targets, a Texas star that's obscured with hardcover, and a plate rack that's in sequence. You have to knock down the front plate before engaging the subsequent plate behind it. From inside the vehicle, I acquire the PCC and I'm supporting off the window frame. I'm going to engage the close range 5x5 steel squares on the ground. Then I'm going to move on to the plate racks in the back. I set the gun down on the seat as I exit the vehicle, then reacquire it. This is not considered dropping the gun. It's the safest way to exit the vehicle and not risk flagging yourself or breaking a 180. This Texas star with the hard cover in front of it is particularly challenging. You're not able to see the plates through their full arc, and there's a bottom window to hit them and a top window to hit them, basically. And hitting those all with iron sights is more challenging because tracking through movement with iron sights is inherently more difficult. That's going to be a constant theme you'll see that I have shooting this match, is that tracking moving targets with iron sights is much more difficult than it would be doing it with a red dot. On that last target, I shot empty, and it was a single non-neutralizing hit, giving me a +5 FTN penalty. On this stage, I am 5th out of 11 shooters in iron sights with 85.09% of the winner's score. The shooter has to engage the 2 steel targets from each box at the start of the stage, then advance through the shooting area, engaging targets as they become visible. I choose to start in the right box to keep my muzzle down range, moving right to left. And about here is where my glasses start to fog up. You can see it's overcast and it rained this morning. Atypical weather for Arizona, and this is going to become very frustrating because the front sight is going to disappear for me as my glasses continue to fog. You're going to see me adjust them throughout the course, pushing them up and down, trying to get a clear sight picture. For half the course, I'm actually looking over top of the edge of my glasses and shooting with uncorrected vision, and it's really, really frustrating. This isn't a reason to stop the stage. It's not considered a safety issue. I just kind of have to deal with it. You'll see me when I get to the last position with the steel targets that are most likely to throw frag at me. I push the glasses back up and just do the best I can. When you see yellow steel, those are no-shoots. You do not want to hit the yellow targets. If you hit them, that is a no-shoot penalty. If I was using a red dot, I think I could have dealt with the fogging much more easily, but with the front sight just disappearing, it was really rough to shoot the rest of the stage. And because I'm so frustrated, I'm going to forget to engage the steel targets at the back of the bay again from this position. Sometimes your RO will be like, if you're finished, unload and show clear. And that's when I get the hint, oh, yeah, I really need to reload and get those targets to the rear. Otherwise, I'm going to get a +15-second penalty per target I didn't shoot. And this is a moment where I'm like, oh, I really screwed up. I need to reload and get those last 4 hits. Well, this was definitely my worst stage of the match. I am 6th in iron sight division with 54.37% of the winner's score. It's actually very typical for me at majors like this to have the first 1 or 2 stages to be my worst of the match as I get into the groove and flow of the particular stage design and emphasis of that event. One of my squad mates from the Pacific Northwest gave me some anti-fog for my lenses after the stage, and it did help for the rest of the day where we had those overcast conditions. So this stage has 2 activators. The first one activates a max trap target that has a shoot target come up and a no-shoot go over it. The second activates a bowling ball that will set off a sequence of moving targets later in the stage. The stage is really about how much do you want to risk engaging before getting to the moving targets that you only have 1 opportunity to shoot. At the start, I hit the max trap activator, take out the 2 steel poppers, and then the paper on the max trap just in time. Here I'm going to engage 1 target at a hard angle I can only see from that position. Initiate the bowling ball activator. I'm going to do single shots on these 3 paper targets. I don't have time for doubles. I'm going to get over here just in time to shoot all those disappearing targets. Remember that there's 2 targets that I have to engage at an angle through here. I'm going to conduct a reload and engage the last 5 paper targets from this section. So you can see there's a very brief window of time to get a lot of stuff done before you don't have a chance to do it again. I'm 4th iron sights on this stage with 63.23% of the winner's score. On this stage, we have a number of paper and steel targets we have to engage while advancing through the hallway. At the end of the stage, there is a total of 10, quote, long range for PCC steel targets. From the start, I can see 3 of the 5 steel targets on this side, so I knock those down. As I advance, I engage the paper, knock down the other 2, pivot, 2 targets there with a no-shoot between them. Over here is a star with another hardcover plate in front of it. So I shoot this in a little bit different sequence so the plates will hit the bottom in a way that I can actually engage them. More paper as I advance through the course here, pivot in there, 1 farther paper, 1 close paper, and this sort of engagement repeats throughout the hallway. From the top of the stairs, I'm going to take the first 4 plates standing, and then I'm going to go into a supported position for the 3 that are on 2 different plate racks. So remember at the beginning where I mentioned the type of things that I'm better at, this is one of them. These are effectively intermediate distance targets for the PCC. My 50-yard zero and marksmanship fundamentals seems to work out well for them. I am 2nd in iron sights on this stage with 81.79% of the winner's score. On this stage, we have 3 steel targets at about 50 or 60 yards we have to engage from the start. Move into the second area, engage all the paper and some steel. Then from the final 2 positions, re-engage the 3 steel targets again. Every shot fired gives me more data on where I need to hold to hit targets. I missed the first 2, but observing where they land, I'm able to hit it on the 3rd shot. I remember those holds for every subsequent engagement on these targets. Really simple close range engagements on paper. From the front here, there's 2 paper and the steel array in the middle. I reload on the move and take up a supported position to re-engage the 3 steel targets. Every little thing helps. I use my support hand to push off and get out of position quicker. In this position, I push my PCC into the corner for the most stability. I am 2nd iron sights on this stage with 73.55% of the winner's score. From inside the helicopter, there are 6 hanging steel targets at 50 or 60 yards. Outside the helicopter, there's a lot going on, to the point that I cannot come up with a stage plan where I can reliably see everything. So I'm just going to seek and destroy, moving from corner to corner in this box, looking for targets of opportunity. It's very easy to get frustrated on stages like this because they require such a high degree of memory to complete. But what I will tell you is if you default to tactical training of keeping your gun up and scanning, methodically looking for the targets, you'll actually still place pretty well because chances are most people's plans aren't going to work out on these kind of stages. Empty gun start on the stage. I charge it when it's facing downrange. I know from previous experience shooting stages on this bay with this prop that I can support left-handed off this column very effectively. When I exit the chopper, I'm going to move to the right rear corner and begin my sweep of the shooting area. You're going to hear me engage one of the heavy buckshot targets with multiple subsequent hits. I'm told that if you hit them in the head, they went over more reliably. I was aiming the upper chest on these, and it did take multiple hits to rock them over. Some of them wanted to fall forward, so shooting them multiple times too quickly actually kept them propped up. There really seemed to be some variability in how to best engage these targets. I'm going to see two targets that I missed during my first sweep. One is another heavy buckshot target. I move over to get a better angle on it. And while it's obvious from the cameraman's perspective, that barrel to my left was blocking my view of that final popper. Keep in mind, every target you don't shoot at all is worth plus 15 seconds, so it's well worth your time to look for them and make sure you've gotten everything. I am 6th in iron sights on this stage with 78.65% of the winner's score. From down in the pit, there are a number of paper targets to be engaged, including 2 moving/disappearing targets after you engage their respective activators. From the top of the stairs, there is a rotating, disappearing steel target that must be hit, and a total of 10 steel targets that must be engaged as well. Taking a slight step to the left gives me 2 paper targets that I can engage immediately. I'm then going to move to the end of the bay, engage the activator, get the max trap target, and then I will move back across, engaging paper targets as I see them. I reload on the way up the stairs. If you want to think about this rotating target like the hands of a clock, if you want to hit it when it's at noon, you want to actually shoot at it when it's at about 10 o'clock so you can deal with your human reaction time and the flight travel of the bullet before it impacts the target. From a good supported position, I make quick work of the rest of the steel targets out here. I am 6th in iron sights with 70.89% of the winner's score. Lots of moving targets on the stage, including paper, a spinner, a Texas Star, and a plate rack/star combination unit. Shooting this activator sets off multiple movers, including those no-shoots that bob up and down, and that no-shoot and shoot target that move past each other very quickly. I almost forget about the target that's a hard left lean around this barrel, so I jump back off the bridge, get back on the bridge to engage the spinner and the falling steel from the center. The yellow target directly underneath the spinner is a no-shoot. Conduct a reload before engaging the next series of targets. Again, the yellow popper in front of these targets is a no-shoot. Unfortunately, my cameraman gets kind of caught between the RO and myself, so we're going to lose track of where the targets are, but just keep track of the dings as you hear the rounds impact them. I am 2nd in iron sights on this stage with 76.15% of the winner's score. This is the most difficult marksmanship challenge of the match on this stage. This is the MOA Targets Clay Star with mini clays. The steel surrounding each clay is a no-shoot. Each no-shoot is worth plus 5 seconds. I'm going to do my best to shoot the stage clean, but I know as soon as I tag one of these, all bets are off and the rest are free. Tag that first one, I engage the rest of them as fast as I can. There's no way I'm going to hit those 2-inch clays when they're moving. Keep in mind, not shooting them at all is a plus 15 second penalty, so the lesser of two evils is to just take the plus 5s as fast as you can. I am 5th iron sights on this stage with 67.47% of the winner's score. Last stage of the match, it's very linear. From the first position, you're going to shoot the 2 paper and shoot the clays representing headlights out of the Jeep. And then from the second 2 positions, the shooter will engage the hanging steel at about 90 yards and then the other steel out to about 150 yards. The 180 sign there is so shooters know where the 180 is on this stage because it's not quite straight down range. From this position, I support off the top of one of the antlers, pulling my handguard down into it. This is a very stable position. You can see I make short work of the targets from here. 50-yard zero is working out just fine. I'm holding just high on all those full-size silhouettes. No problem. From the top of this rooftop prop, I get all the way over the top of it with my magazine on the downward leading edge. This offers a very stable position. I am first in irons on the stage, giving me 100 match points. This stage is exactly the type of stage that I'm good at. It's linear. There's no choosing which method is the best way to shoot the stage or optimizing engagement sequence. It's really just get in position and make the hits as fast as you can. And it was intermediate range targets, which I tend to excel at. In the final results, I am second out of 11 shooters in iron sights division with 76.05% of the winner's score. In the overall results, I am 82nd out of 196 shooters with 61.45% of the overall winner's score. This is all of my percentages / match points relative to iron sights division. You can see that the second stage I shot, stage 3, was in fact the worst stage of the match for me. You can also see that the ones that involved shooting at intermediate distances, pushing the limits of the PCC, are the ones I tended to do better at. Using iron sights at this event was definitively more challenging, but not in the way you might expect. The further distance targets were not harder for me to engage. What was harder was all the target-to-target transitions and getting a good clean sight picture on moving targets and making those hits. That isn't something I necessarily would have expected, but I noticed a substantial difference in how easy it is to engage those kind of targets with a red dot versus doing the same thing with iron sights. Thank you for watching. Come back again for more match and multi-gun competition content.